Hello, welcome to the Old Man Orange podcast. I'm Special Scott Holmes.
And I'm Dave Candido.
And we're coming at you with some more cinema review here of Platoon, 1986, Oliver Stone's. There's that giant Oliver Stone box that I was telling you about when we did Natural Born
yeah.
Killers. This was ones where I think I got this literally at like an FYE for like $20.
That almost looks like a Cowboy Bebop or something.
It really does.
That's an interesting
Oliver Stone's Cowboy Bebop.
It makes you wonder if Cowboy Bebop took that color scheme and like what's his name, Spike's design, and just I don't know, like they saw that. I guess that color scheme, it probably has nothing to do with Oliver Stone.
No, because it's one of those ones, like, it would have been like the same time period, because this, I don't know, I got the set like maybe like 2004, like it's got kind of, you can see like the interior of it.
That's pretty cool.
It's kind of cool.
Does that have like 6 movies in it?
Yeah, it's literally all his movies. They're all on individual discs, too.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool.
But it's literally all his movies from the very beginning all the way up to, I wanted to say, oh, it's on the set of Alexander. So this was like right when Alexander came out. So that's not in there. But
he's got to be done making films. Is he?
He made a nuclear bomb like documentary thing that came out like a year ago. That sounded actually really interesting. Like pro-nuclear, not nuclear bomb, I take it back. Nuclear energy.
Oh.
Be like, man, Oliver Stone got a little bit crazy there towards the end. He made a pro-nuclear bomb movie.
Oh, man.
No, I mean, he had a pro-nuclear energy movie of, like how people were so misled for, many years about that kind of stuff and how it's actually really the best energy source. Duh. One of those ones. We finally got it back around to that.
So that set you have there, are those the movies that he directed, wrote, or produced, or? It's
just the ones he directed. So there's no Scarface, no Conan the Barbarian, no any of those ones. Yeah, I'm trying to think of that. What's that another one he has too? Because he has a handful of movies he wrote for the like.
There's like 25 movies that he directed.
Yeah, no, it's a bunch. It's Salvador, Platoon, Wall Street, Talk Radio, Born on the 4th of July, The Doors, JFK, Heaven and Hell, Natural Born Killers, Nixon, U-Turn, Any Given Sunday, and whatever Oliver Stone's America is. I don't think I watched that one yet, but So yeah, there's a crap ton on there. And then he's got a bunch of movies later on. You got like W, which is a good one. Mm-hmm. He had
I never saw W.
I liked Alexander. I thought that was fun. And then there was one weird one he had. I wanted to say, the hell was it? It was about 10, 15 years old by now. But I remember that was one of the first times I remember seeing an Oliver Stone movie and going, huh, you know what? I've always really enjoyed every single thing I saw, but this one was kind of bizarre. It was literally about
Snowden,
like
the whistleblower.
Yeah, I don't think did Oliver Stone do that one though? I didn't think he did
Snowden.
That. Oh, he did? Okay, well that's a good one too.
And then there were Savages.
That's the one. It was Savages, where it was about like two con guys who for some reason liked the same girl, and they were it was just this weird like love triangle, but like it wasn't like it was a love triangle. They just like to bang her together or something. I don't know. And they were like selling drugs and whatnot like that. Like it wasn't terrible. It was just okay. I felt like.
Yeah. Huh. But, interesting. I think I've seen more Oliver Stone movies than I thought I had.
Yeah, he has a lot of those kind of movies where you just don't think about it. You're like, oh yeah, I've seen that, and so on.
Yeah.
And then he's got ones that really stand out. It seems like he always kind of does. Sometimes, actually, like he's got a lot of the political movies in there.
Yeah. Conan. Oh, so, I wonder who wrote Conan the Destroyer, because it wasn't.
Yeah, it wasn't Oliver Stone for Conan the Destroyer, just Conan the Barbarian. He wrote the original script, and then I think John Milius kind of touched up with another dude or something like that, because they said that like Oliver Stone's one was way too epic and way too expensive to shoot.
Did you ever see the Conan with Jason Momoa?
Yeah, I like that one. I saw that one in cinemas. Yeah, I thought that was actually still pretty good. I remember at that time period, there's a lot of people that were like, oh man, it's not Arnold Schwarzenegger. And me being like literally Arnold Schwarzenegger is my all-time favorite, I was like, I can accept that. I can accept that there's going to be another Conan in life.
Oh, yeah.
Because that character's, 100 plus years old. And just the same way I can accept a Terminator movie even if it doesn't have Arnold in it,
Yeah, of course. Oh, it's kind of like David, what's his name? Harbour, who played the Hellboy after Ron Perlman.
Oh, because I personally actually like that Hellboy movie even more. And don't get me wrong, I like the Ron Perlman ones, but I thought that third Hellboy movie was super good.
I never saw it, but I really want to. My wife and I really want to check it out because we both like those first two Hellboys. And I don't know, it's like a lot. We've talked about a lot of times the different movies that get just totally shit on, and usually it's for such a dumb reason. Like I think people were so upset about Ron Perlman not being Hellboy for the third film that's why a lot of people didn't go see it, or that's why it got bombed.
I think so, because I kid you not, that third Hellboy movie, that was one of my favorite movies of the year. I thought it was amazing.
Yeah, definitely.
I really dug it. Yeah, like I kid you not, and I'll say this, I liked it way more than the first two Hellboys. Like that's how much I liked it. And I liked the first two Hellboys a lot, but that third one, plus it's rated R, so it has all the violence in there.
Oh yeah,
like, you can always sell me if you add some more violence in there. It's like, well, that movie's already earned a couple more points.
Yep. Oh yeah, but no, yeah, Platoon. That's where we're at. I don't know why. I thought about looking in our. I was almost going to say discography, but I was almost going to flip
podography.
Yeah, our podography. It sounds like some
podography.
Somebody with a speech impediment saying pornography. The no, I almost flipped through our videos because I'm like, I swear I thought we did it. But because I usually these days it's pretty rare that I watch a certain movie unless it's for us doing a podcast, and so I'm like. Man, I watched it recently, and recently as in like a year or so ago, and I asked my wife, I'm like, we watched Platoon together like a year ago. She's like, no, I didn't watch it. I'm like, we had to. I didn't sit here and watch it by myself. Like I hardly ever watch movies by myself. And but I'm
did you watch another Vietnam movie? Was it one of those kind of cases?
I specifically remember the way that Willem Dafoe died. And I specifically remember the way that Charlie Sheen smoked Barnes, I remember just everything, most everything. What I didn't remember were some of those hard parts. I don't know how I didn't remember those. But yeah, so it was an awesome watch through again. And I'll say this, crazy going from, of course, we're going backwards in time a little bit here, but we just got done with Natural Born Killers, Oliver Stone. And maybe it's because he started with Quentin Tarantino's script and just did his own magic to it or something. And I would guess that Platoon was already Oliver Stone's baby,
Yep.
And maybe that's the reason why, but what a stark difference in direction there. Like,
between these two movies. Well, that's the thing, is you could kind of see, because like Platoon's this like award-winning, like low budget, war movie that really kind of shined new light on the Vietnam War and sort of changed the way that a lot of people thought about it and so on like that. And you could just see in like literally less than 10 years, he's making Natural Born Killers. So it's like, that seems like the movie that's like the least Oscar-winning movie you're going to possibly have. Like it's not doing any favors to like, critics and, just like normal people and so on like that. That movie is a movie made for filmmakers and people who really like, the ultra violence and so on.
Yeah.
So you can see where it's like, they're like, what the hell? This is the guy, he just did this Doors movie and he did the Wall Street one and all this stuff. And then he goes and does this, but.
Yeah. I when it comes to war movies, I'm very judgmental. I'm judgmental with pretty much every movie I watch.
Any movie has
I
guns
try not
in
to
it.
be. I try not to be, but especially with the guns, but war movies, and it's beyond that though. I have a limited experience in the military. Like I was not in combat. I was in a combat zone, or I should say a zone at risk of there being combat is even more accurate. It's just kind of a by paper definition thing. But so I've been deployed, I was in the military, but I was in a non-combat role. I was in a shit role. There was really nothing fun about it. It was a pretty crappy job. But other than that, I mean, I will never see, I would not have seen what these guys had seen, and what most military member that was in that kind of position would see, and when I see movie, but I have a good understanding of what's out there for these dudes. And when I see a certain war movie or military movie or whatever that goes over all this, I do kind of analyze it quite a bit. And I have to say, I think that this is, I mean, nobody's going to argue me this, but this has got to be one of the best examples of a war movie that's out there, because it's gritty, it's very raw, It doesn't hold back whatsoever. And you go through every emotion I think that a human can go through, especially through the eyes of Charlie Sheen's character. I think his name's Chris Taylor. His last name's Taylor. I think his first name's Chris.
Yeah, I think Chris Taylor. Yeah. That's right.
Chris Taylor. So, it's something that I won't say it's cliche because this was from 1986. So there wasn't all the movies today that we have back then about Vietnam. I'm sure there was plenty, but not like we have now. And not
but there
like
wasn't
we
like
have in
tons.
general.
You had Apocalypse Now, which was that was kind of the big one, and then of course you had The Deer Hunter with Robert De Niro, both extremely good movies. And then beyond that, the only other things they had things like there was like The Green Berets of John Wayne, which was like a propaganda Vietnam movie in '68 and stuff. And then there was some of those kind of like those coming back from Nam style movies like Rolling Thunder, that touched on it, but like kind of different. This felt like this was like kind of one of the first ones that won. Oliver Stone was in Vietnam, in like '68 or whatever, or '67.
Yeah.
And so you had an actual veteran putting this whole thing together. It's not coming from kind of like an outside perspective or anything like that. And then the fact that
James Cameron.
Yeah. James Cameron writes Rambo 2 or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like in this one here, I feel like this is kind of the start of like what you would consider the modern war movie. It's very authentic, and I feel this movie kind of creates like the style that would be from everything from Saving Private Ryan to like all the ones that they had like coming up. Is like this is kind of like that one that kind of starts that genre of war movies. Beyond that, no, I'm wrong. Like Apocalypse Now is one of my all-time favorite movies, and so on like that. I think that one's fantastic.
Fantastic.
And the interesting thing always is that you got Martin Sheen in that one, and then Charlie Sheen like 10 years later comes and does the same thing his dad did in a sense.
Yeah, it's kind of hilarious. I like but yeah, going back to what I was saying, it opens how a lot of other war movies open. You got a fresh recruit who's just arrived at where he's supposed to be staying for the next few hundred days, and he's fresh. He's what a lot of Marines will call he's a boot. It's what a lot of fresh Marines are called, new troop. He's fresh meat. He's young blood, and as he's walking towards wherever he's walking to, his base camp, his base operations, whatever, you got a lot of people that are leaving. They're kind of taunting him, saying all those things I just said, young meat or fresh meat, and then you got this one dude, a lot of them are heckling him, and this one guy is just walking past him, and he just looks like shit. It looks like he's been there for 80 years and he's just like gave up on life. And quite the stark contrast to Charlie Sheen's character. And I would say in some war movies, I've noticed the main character who is this kind of, in the Boy Scouts, they call him tenderfeet or tenderfoot, like these softies or like just people that aren't used to this. They're all new to it. In some of these war movies, it takes that character quite a while to really adjust and become that hardened warrior that they need to be. And in my opinion, in this movie, Charlie Sheen, it doesn't take him very long to become that. All it takes is one firefight where he gets shot in the neck and then goes to the infirmary for however long. They don't really specify. At least I don't remember. And then he comes back and all of a sudden, like, he's got a thirst for revenge. Like, he's not as drastic as some of the other characters, as you find out, but he's certainly not. He's not. What's the word I'm looking for? He doesn't seem to be anxious or hesitant anymore. He
gets broken in.
Yeah. And but yeah, that's so he's him and another guy. I forgot the other guy's name, the other new guy, but doesn't really make it. Oh, it's Gardner. His last name was Gardner. He shows up with Gardner and probably Private Gardner and meets with their lieutenant, who is a total pussy, Lieutenant Wolf, Mark Moses.
Yeah. He's named like Wolf, you think you'd have a little bit more power.
I know, right? But Wolf is seemingly just as inexperienced as Charlie Sheen. The only difference is Wolf is a lieutenant. So he's technically, it's not really technically, but he's in charge.
Yeah.
But you've got Sergeant Barnes and Sergeant Elias, who are Willem Dafoe is Elias, and Barnes is Tom Berenger, and they couldn't be more opposite of each other. And not only that, but what I really like about this movie that it does very well, that other war movies do well also, but sometimes in certain military or war movies, a lot of characters seem to blend together quite a bit. You know, it's just a sea of green. You know, they're all the same kind of soldier guy, but everyone is very much themselves in this film. They all got their own personalities. It doesn't matter, you know, if you got 3 black guys and 2 white guys from the South or whatever. Like, no matter what, they're all different from each other.
Yeah,
I love his character in this film.
Oh, Keith David's like the best. He is like literally one. But
I don't think I've ever seen him in something I didn't like. So
no. Well, he's always the guy who like steals the show in any movie he's in, whether it be like The Thing or whether it be like They Live or even be Halo or any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? He's always so good. And like his acting chops are always like ridiculous. I will say, I remember the very first time I ever saw Platoon, because I knew Johnny Depp was in this movie, but like I would have a kind of a hard time going like, wait, oh, there's Johnny Depp. Oh, no. Yeah, it's Charlie Sheen. Like, it's Charlie Sheen and Johnny Depp, if they're all like in gear and kind of from like a sort of medium shot, they can kind of look the same. You know, if it's not a close shot or something like that, they can look kind of similar. You know.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say Johnny Depp, you know, because he is kind of like a background character realistically in this movie.
Pretty much. He has one scene that's significant. That's when they raid that little farming village, where he's the translator, and then not long after that he dies.
Gets shot.
Which it seems like that was a common trend for Johnny Depp in his first few movies.
Yeah, like Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah. But yeah, he was only 22 in this film actually. But yeah, baby Depp.
Yeah, he's just a boy. The funny thing I always think about is like Charlie Sheen is how many war movies he realistically is in.
Oh man,
like,
the next one I thought of was Navy SEALs, which I think was a goofier film than Platoon by far.
I still like that movie though, but it is.
I haven't seen him forever, but
Michael Biehn's in it as well too.
I remember when I saw it, so I saw that before I saw Platoon, and it made me not want to watch Platoon because. I just was like, that's just gonna be some goofy war movie, and when I saw it, I was like, oh, that is definitely not like Navy SEALs.
But then Charlie Sheen's also in Red Dawn, you know.
Yeah. I forgot about that.
And then even like I'll say this, even like watching this, you know, when you look at like Elias, Willem Dafoe's character, you know what he really reminds me a lot of is almost kind of like Bodhi from like Point Break.
Yeah.
Patrick Swayze's character, like in a weird way. I even thought about that. I'm like, boy, that's almost a character that Patrick Swayze could have totally played as well too. That would.
Oh, I would imagine so. I think he would have done a great job. Yeah, no, Sergeant Elias, who is Willem Dafoe, he is totally a free spirit. You know, like but he's not so far gone down the pipe because he's always smoking pot and everything. You know, you basically got 2 groups of guys in this platoon. You got the dudes that are like, this is stupid, you know, like, but you know, we're here, so we got to make the best of it. And they're getting stoned and shit all the time and just relaxing when they're not having a fight. And then you got the crew that's over with Barnes, who are kiss asses and psychopaths. Yeah. And they're
kind of like angry rednecks in a weird way.
Yeah. And Barnes is just completely like, he totally disregards anything that might be wrong with what's going on. Not only just within the platoon, but with the war, all of it. He's just like, he's focused. He's like totally mission driven. He wants to believe that what they're doing is what needs to be done. Whereas Elias, even though he's a pothead, he's like, he does take it seriously because he knows that he has to. Again,
and he's highly skilled.
Yeah. Him and Barnes are the two. They've been there the longest, I think, out of everybody, and they're the most experienced. And they're having to basically carry Lieutenant Wolf through this because he don't know what the fuck he's doing. And I love that scene too, where it's right in the beginning where Barnes, at first Barnes seems like an all right enough guy, but he's just a total hard ass, and you don't know how crazy it is until like halfway through the film. But yeah, so he's him, Elias, and Lieutenant Wolf. They're giving orders. They're talking. Well, pretty much Barnes and Elias are saying like, this is what we're gonna do. a little bit of not quite an argument, more of a disagreement, but ultimately they agree and they go on about their business. And as Barnes is walking off, Lieutenant Wolf goes up, "Hey, Sergeant Barnes, just in front of the guys, you should probably let me give the orders." And he just like stares at him, 1,000-yard stare, just like
doesn't have to say really anything. Yeah.
And what's funny is, like I was saying earlier, I love how it introduces the personalities, the completely different personalities of Barnes and Elias, and then also the completely different personalities of everyone else around. It's a very accurate representation of what it's like, not only to be stationed overseas on a deployment with other people, but also even at your regular stateside bases. Because even though you're stateside, you still got people that are from all over the place at the base that you're at, because you don't choose where you go. They give you the illusion that you can choose where you go depending on what branch you join and this and that. But I mean, ultimately, they're going to send you where they want to send you. So I mean, like at Whiteman in here in Missouri, I couldn't tell you all the different countries that people are coming from, like not only different states but different countries. So much so that I remember right before I was getting out, I mean, I went to the clinic one day, and the dude that was the nurse, I felt bad because I kept telling him, like, dude, I can't understand what the fuck you're saying. Like, I don't know what you want me to do, because he was from somewhere in fucking Africa, and the dude just was 2 syllables away from clicking at me, and I'm like, dude, I don't want to be a dick, but I don't know what you're saying. But so yeah, like, I love the representation that they're giving to the characters here. And what's hilarious is this is way before any of the diversity, equity, inclusion kind of influence on movie making too.
Well, I feel this sounds weird, but just as a kid growing up watching a lot of Vietnam movies, I always felt like you looked at Vietnam as like, that was the first time that like they just kind of let everybody kind of come together, and you literally, like, there's literally like a black dude like sitting next to like one of the hillbilly guys who's got a ginormous Confederate flag right behind him, and it's just like, oh, whatever, and they're like friends. What I mean? They don't have any animosity against each other, those two guys, and so on like that.
And that's how it works too, because you could come from a place where well, that's how it used to work, and it still, I think, is somewhat that way, but things have been so watered down in the military as a whole in the last probably 20 years that things are just it's constantly changing. It's a revolving doors of culture and politics. But yeah, no, I mean, that's the way it kind of was for me, and that's the way it was definitely for people before me, for the generations before me. And but yeah, I mean, you could be, before your military life, you could have been, I don't know, been kicking rocks in an alleyway with, just a bunch of bums. But then you join the military, and there you are, sharing an MRE with some guy who went to some Ivy League school but decided to enlist. That's kind of like Charlie Sheen's character. Actually, he says how he's talking with Keith David and somebody else. I don't remember which character, but talking about. They're talking about their remaining days that they have, and Charlie Sheen says, like, oh yeah, I basically admits that he left college because he wasn't learning nothing anyway. Oh, they're surprised that he volunteered to be there. They're like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, he enlisted. Well, apparently Oliver Stone did the same thing. That's where that kind of character thing came from, because he did the same thing because he thought it would just broaden his horizons and all that kind of stuff, where all the rest of the guys that are there have all been drafted, and they didn't want to be there. They literally just got picked out and just got, put here. So,
and and Charlie Sheen, he's given this kind of short monologue about, why he did it, and he wasn't learning nothing anyway, and he figures, like, why do only the poor guys have to go to war? Us rich guys should have to go too. So, he wanted to do his part in this and that. And Keith David's like, that's the kind of thing only a rich person would say. And I was like, yeah,
that's definitely true.
And but yeah, there's so much. It must be, I would say, largely from Oliver Stone's personal experiences and what he witnessed as well, that were other people's experiences that he met while he was overseas and everything. But I mean, it's such a, we already said it, very authentic experience. It's very, it doesn't seem like there is much fluff in this movie at all. No. Obviously, it's semi-fictional, right? It's not the telling of an actual battle, kind of like Hamburger Hill, is that's the retelling of an actual battle, but that said, these are clearly inspired on real events. I mean, the big event here is Vietnam. And so it's not like there'd be really much fluff anyway, but I mean, what I really like is there's no Disney MCU type of crap, like no stupid pointless conversations about anything. Everything, like nearly everything in this movie has a reason to be in the movie. And it flows so well. You get to see the character development, the relationships that are built up and then broken down, the deterioration of sanity of some of these guys, if they were ever sane at all.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things about this movie, which is kind of a small thing, but one of the Bobs is in this movie, the Bobs from Office Space.
Yep.
I forget his name, but he was John McGinley.
Yeah, well, who is he? And he was also in, speaking of another movie we watched recently, Point Break.
Oh, that's right.
He's a police captain in that one.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. I was trying to think of the other movie that we saw with him in it. But yeah, excuse me. But yeah, so I loved his character for the fact that he's such a piece of crap. And just the biggest kiss ass. And that's another thing too. I mean, anybody who's been especially anybody who's been overseas, has known a dude or woman, I guess, but in this case, they're usually probably a guy, who's just like trying like so hard to stay in the good graces of whoever's in charge, like just sucking their dick so hard so they don't have to, like get lumped in doing shit work, or the first chance they can get to go somewhere else other than where hard shit is being done, like they're off, like gone, and I could think of a dude I was deployed with that was like this, and nobody liked him. Like
no, just like just like in this movie, I don't think anybody really likes this guy either.
Hell no. And I love how, so great. So he's such an asshole to everybody, especially Taylor, and just always like, oh, if you fuck this up, I'm gonna kill you. Well, then as soon as they get the idea that it's near the end of the film where this last attack's about to take place, he asks Barnes, like, hey, I was thinking because what's his name, King, who is David Keith David's character, he gets to, it's time, he's done, goodbye.
Yeah,
and then there was another guy that was supposed to go with him, and for whatever reason he didn't, so they had an open slot. It might have been Elias, actually. I think Elias was on his way out.
Maybe that was somebody died, and and
he's asking, like for, I was thinking maybe I could go because there's that open spot, and just for 3 days. It's just 3 days, Barnes, and he's like, no. Like, no, that's ridiculous. Like, I need you here. He's like, oh, come on. I mean, it's only for a few. He's like, no. He's like, but yeah, and then he starts crying, like, something's bad's gonna happen. He's like, we all gotta die sometime,
I kind of just say, you can't really give sympathy because you got to think about Barnes. Okay, one, look at how many scars he's got across his face. Like, he doesn't care about your feelings.
I know, right? That'd be the last person I asked for anything. I wouldn't ask that guy to punch me in the face.
Yeah.
Because it'd be an inconvenience to him, and because of that, he'd probably punch me in the face and the dick. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, no, and then of course, in that last battle they have, he piles bodies all over himself so that nobody knows he's alive, and then of course, thinking that he got out of the shit, he gets out of there. He's like, all right, how's it going? And the lieutenant comes up, he's like, how's it going? And he's like, oh, great. He's like, fantastic. Well, you got second platoon now. And he's just like, but that's going way ahead. But I just that character, I hated him. I loved how much I hated him.
Yeah.
So it was nice to see that he got the short end of the stick in the end. But yeah, this movie kind of gives me certain feelings that Apocalypse Now does. Maybe it's the pacing. Maybe it's maybe it's just the nature of the film. A lot of these war movies, they're kind of like this. You start out with a group of guys, they go through their days, in the jungle, in the desert, whatever, and some of them get picked off, some of them become close, some of them you just never see them again, whatever, and then you have your very clear climax and resolutions, but it plays out like a lot of them do, is what I'm saying. But that said, it doesn't. It's not slow, no. And I would say the part where nothing major really happens until they get to the village, and I think it's about the halfway part of the movie.
Isn't there one more? Well, there's the one battle where Charlie Sheen first gets shot.
Yeah. Partially, that's like, I don't know, 15 minutes in the movie.
Yeah, because that's sort of the start. Because that's what I like about this movie too. Is this movie, because sometimes one issue that like a lot of war movies will sort of have is they'll have like this really long like intro before they even get to being deployed or whatever. Like the one I always think of is why am I drawing a blank on it all of a sudden? The Robert De Niro one I just mentioned Deer Hunter.
Yeah,
that one. It has like the super long intro, and at first starts these guys get off of work, they go to the bar, they hang out, they go like on this hunting thing. That's all fine and dandy. Then it goes into this long wedding scene, and I remember like when I was watching it, like dude, it was getting to the point like the first time I watched it, I'm like, dude, I'm about ready to turn this movie off. Like if this is what it is, and so on. And I was like 2 steps away from like just going click, turn this off and watch something else or whatnot. And then it hard cuts to Robert De Niro pops up out of the ground with a flamethrower and starts lighting dudes up. And from that point on, that movie was so good. I was so into it from there. But like, it goes to show that sometimes it's just those intros. It's like they don't need to be that long. Mm-hmm. I like how Platoon though is just right there. Charlie Sheen's dropped right off in the helicopter and whatnot. He's like, "Hey, here you are. This is your get ready." And then action starts up. Only 15, 20 minutes past that.
And that was kind of the defining moment for Charlie Sheen. He was that tenderfoot. He was that new guy, and he was hesitant to really do anything. He was supposed to light off this. He was supposed to trigger this claymore when he saw the NVAs coming in, or Viet Cong, whichever one they were. I'm pretty sure the NVAs. But
and he couldn't get it to work.
No, he couldn't get it to work, and. They're yelling at him and whatever, and there's a big battle. He gets shot in the neck, but he's fine.
And they're blaming him for falling asleep, though he's clearly awake.
Yes, yeah, and it is what it is. And the next day, of course, Barnes reprimanded him. He says that it was Junior, and whatever, but nobody cares. So he goes to the infirmary, and he gets patched up, however long it takes, and then he goes back and he's. Keith David sees him, and nobody really cared about him either. Nobody really liked him. And then finally, once he gets back after getting wounded, then the guys that are easygoing, Elias's group, they're kind of like, "Hey, welcome."
Come on in.
Come on in, do these drugs with us.
Smoke this long pipe real quick. What is it? Don't question it.
Yeah, really cool scene actually with him, Ramucci, or who they call Ra. Keith David, another one of the black dudes. I don't remember his name, and
there's that one dude just like lifting weights in the back.
Yeah. And
because sometimes there's some of those like they're like almost like characters like I don't even know if they really necessarily have lines or anything like that, but they still stand out. You know what I mean? Like it's all they have just that like features and so on like that. You're like, okay, there we go. There's somebody else there that like is a character.
Him and Elias, and Elias of course is another one. He's like, try this, and he tells him to put his mouth over the barrel of a 12 gauge, and
he blows into it.
Blows his probably marijuana into the barrel, and
heroin. You never know.
Who freaking knows? But yeah, so like they're all having a good time and bonding and whatever, and that was where you're like, okay, so seems like this is the path he's going to go down, but he still has a way to go because he's still pretty frustrated that he got shot in the neck. Of course, he doesn't. He's talking about how much, I think it was prior to getting shot. He was talking about how much it sucked being in Vietnam. He didn't like it at all. He's writing to his grandma, I think.
Yeah, his grandma.
And then I think he wrote to his parents too. Either that or he asked that her to say hello to them or some shit.
Yeah, I think he was close to his grandma. His grandma was his main contact. You know?
And then but yeah, so then they go off, more missions, of course, and go towards this on one of their treks. They stumble upon this little village, and this has got to be the scene in the movie that's the hardest to watch.
This is probably the scene that stands out like a lot in this movie.
Yeah, and it's to me, this is where the film shifted from almost like, up until this point, this film could have been like
MASH or something like that.
No, possibly, but I was going to say this could have been like the R. Up until that point where they get to the village, the film could have been almost like the R-rated version of the Vietnam section of Forrest Gump.
Yeah,
like it really wasn't drastically different from that.
Yeah, a little bit more violent, a little bit more swearing, a little bit more drugs.
But I mean, like, ultimately, it's like not a whole lot had transpired. In fact, I think at that point, Forrest Gump might have been a little bit more violent, with Lieutenant Dan losing his legs and Bubba dying. But anyway, and Forrest Gump getting shot in the ass or something biting him on the butt. But excuse me. But yeah, so this I feel like this was the point in the movie where things really shifted and got like extremely dark. They come across this village, this little farmer village. It's kind of hard to even call it a village, right? It's not really big. And they're looking around. They kill some pigs.
Just like assholes, just come in, kick a pig right off the bat.
And this is the kind of shit that like makes people wonder why, makes like U.S. military members wonder why like other people don't like them. Like when they're in deployment zones.
Yeah.
It's like, because you take their shit, rape their women, and blow their shit up. Like, what the fuck? Do you think
shoot their pigs.
But yeah, so like they shoot these pigs, and like Barnes is like just unhinged. Like, if you thought he was kind of a jerk, you were right, but you didn't realize what kind of a nutcase he was until this scene. You get these people, right, and he just rounds them up, and they see some people in this little kind of a hole, like a foxhole that's covered up, and they're just like ripping people out of there. It's all women, like, get them out of here, and like not even getting a chance. Any more people in there? No. All right. And then he just throws a grenade in there, but then you get a glimpse of what's inside there, and this little boy running around. Then he just fucking kills him, blows him up. And
it's like these people are literally hiding because they saw the Americans coming. Like that's why they decided to hide. But it's this weird thing, because I almost want to say beforehand, one of the guys dies, and for some reason they sort of find something that ties this village into that guy's death.
They find weapons. So they
do find that, because there was like one thing led to this for them to get there, and it's just almost like Barnes and things like that. It was just like there was like the last straw. Like he just wasn't going to have it anymore. There's like sometimes there's those things where like I do kind of see how someone does get to this point. Like if like every single day, like you just never know if something's going to blow up in your face or someone's going to like, be just a regular villager and shoot you. And so I can see how you just get to a point where you're like, I trust nothing anymore.
And that's the thing.
That's where he's gotten to, is he's at the point, I trust nothing.
Oh yeah. And that's the thing too. So, I mean, you had, this is what I think the two most important characters in this whole movie have got to be Barnes and Elias.
Yes.
And you get to see, I feel like they both in a way represent what this war was. And Barnes is the ultimate chaos that was Vietnam, because it was unhinged. You didn't know what was next. You didn't know why. You didn't know how, but it was coming, and it wasn't going to be good. And that's Barnes. And then, Elias is the character that he believed in it, but now he doesn't. It's gone on long enough.
He wants the good to happen, but he doesn't, he at this point, he's kind of lost faith in it.
He's like, dude, it's pointless. Yeah. And Barnes was, I keep wanting to say Barnes, but ultimately it's just, this movie really shows what chaos this war was. But Barnes is at the heart of that. And like you said, it's understandable. It's understandable. I wouldn't say it's forgivable.
No,
but
it's not forgivable. Yeah.
Why he is the way he is, but it's a real shame, and especially when he's just off the chain and he's just has no problem blowing anyone up, to find out what is where. And you don't even, so they find the weapons, And then there's a few of the other guys, I think 3 guys, it might have been just 2. They go into this little hut and he sees what looks like important NVA documents or something. And one of the guys is like, it's just, it's just gook stuff, like just forget it. He's like, no, this is important. So he puts it back in the little box and goes to pick the box up. Well, he trips a bomb and it gets blown up.
That's right. Yeah.
And then Charlie Sheen, Taylor, is in another hut with Bunny, psychopath, and they are there with an old lady and what I imagine to be probably a dude who's not right in the head.
Yeah, I think that guy is legitimately special ed, the guy playing that, because they just sort of rounded up a bunch of Philippine people to play these characters here, and they weren't really actors, so like you kind of just have these like, oh, okay, there's a guy that'll work, because you watch this poor guy. He's like missing a leg. You can tell he's kind of partially blind or something like that, just totally off. And here's Charlie Sheen and Bunny yelling at him and so on like this. He has no idea what they're saying.
No, he has no idea what they're saying. He doesn't have he can't comprehend what is going on. He's just probably retarded or something. Who knows? And so Charlie Sheen, he's unhinged, right? He's probably wanting a little revenge, probably irritated. He's like irritated at the fact that he's there, like most people that are deployed. Like, why are we here? I don't want to be here. People don't want us here. This is dumb. Everything becomes pointless. Like when you're deployed, it's you wonder, like, especially when nothing significant is going on, you're like, why, dude? Like, we have done the same things over and over and over for what? Like, you don't ever hear about what happened because of what you did. You don't ever hear about like, well, because you guys did this all day, we were able to get this done or what. No, it's just you just keep doing the same shit over and over and over half the time. Now, unless you're in like certain positions where you get to see real results, like, but half the time, no, you just got to take the word of your superiors that you're doing something for a good cause and whatever. So everyone's frustrated, especially Charlie Sheen. And with this guy in the hut, he's just yelling at him. He don't get it, whatever. And then he starts shooting at his feet. Yeah, telling him to dance. And the dude's just kind of hopping up and down. He probably don't even realize that there's bullets at his feet, but whatever. So then finally, like he gets calmed down and like starts crying and shit. And just like doesn't want to go forward with anything. He probably realizes like, what the hell is this war doing to me? And then Bunny, that psycho, he's like screw this, man. And he starts hollering at the guy. O'Neill comes in, the guy who's always bitching and moaning, talking about, if you don't do this, I'm going to whoop your ass. He comes in there and he's kind of like, oh man. he's telling them both like, oh, let's go, fellas. And then yells at Bunny like, come on, let's go. And they're like, just stop. Like, we can just leave, And then it looks like they're about to leave, but then Bunny turns right back around and smashes that dude's head on the ground and then just bashes his freaking brains out. And like almost nonchalantly, he's like, hey, did you see how these brains came out? Wow. And he's like, we got to do the woman too, and do as in kill. But and O'Neill's still like, oh, we didn't see nothing. Like, we can just leave right now. And just a real pussy. And but then so they exit that hut, and meanwhile all that kind of interrogating is going on outside with Johnny Depp getting
Johnny Depp doing the translating.
And I thought, like, interesting. I'm like, an interesting choice to be a translator, but at the time I'm like, he does kind of look like he could have passed for I almost said hybrid, passed for a mixed race dude.
Because Johnny Depp does have his own unique look that doesn't really, you can't really pinpoint exactly what he is.
No, not really.
He's almost like a Vin Diesel.
Yeah. But so he's translating, and Barnes is clearly just getting more and more irritated and pissed, and he doesn't, like, you could tell him anything. You could tell him the truth 10 times over and he would have been like, no way, like, fuck this guy, he's lying. And
ultimately, never gonna believe this guy. He's like, bring his wife over here.
Yeah, and she's pissed. She's screaming at him like, why did you kill our pigs? Now we can't make money and blah blah blah. She's still, you fucking stupid American. And then finally he's just like, fuck this, and just shoots her in the head, done. And then, of course, the farmer, you know, he falls to his knees. It's got to be his wife, his mom, whatever. You don't really know.
Yeah, he's crying. And then, their fucking daughter comes running out, you know, just screaming and hollering and so on like that. And she's like 6. And Barnes doesn't care. He's literally like, whatever, give me like a new hostage.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is where you're just like, Jesus, dude. Like, holy crap. Like, you just killed a little boy. You just killed a mother, grandma, maybe, who knows, and now you're taking this little girl hostage. There's a dead retard in the hut. I mean, like, oh my God, it's just going to hell. And I didn't realize for a minute that Lieutenant Wolf is there.
Yeah.
And you're just like, are you not going to do anything? And then
the only person that steps up to us, Elias is the one that steps up.
He shows up, and he's pissed because, again, like, he's not that chaotic part of this. And he's seen through, you know, the proxy. He's seen through the, you know, like the fact that they're all fighting a politician's war. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, he's not enamored whatsoever by the fact that he's fighting in a war. And this is where that conflict comes in. And he confronts Barnes, yells at him, they fight, and he tells him, like, you're going to see the law about this, you know, and they argue, they fight, and Barnes is like, fuck you, I'll kill you. Elias is, you know, like, you're going to go to prison and blah, blah, blah. And then he asks Lieutenant Wolf, he's like, why didn't you do anything? He's like,
yeah, they're not involved.
I don't know what he's talking about. He's like, you fucking know what I'm talking about. And nothing. And then, of course, they're headed back to camp, and then Charlie Sheen rescues a couple of Asian girls from getting raped from some of the other dudes.
Yeah, like 12-year-old Asian girls too.
Yeah, just messed up. And of course, they're like, what are you, some kind of homosexual? And he's like, dude, they're human beings. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
And they just don't give a crap. And
these guys are they just think that they can just do whatever they want in this other land.
Yeah.
They're not on American soil kind of thing.
And but yeah, so then they go back to their camp or their headquarters, and Elias talks to the commander about it, and Lieutenant Wolf's still like, oh no, nothing happened, I don't know about that. And Barnes,
we forgot to mention this. To top it off, when they go to leave, they burn the entire village, because that's the best way they're going to get rid of everything. After they've already thrown a handful of grenades into like the holes underneath there, just to see what happens. You know, they literally burn this entire village, and I'm surprised they actually even take the villagers with them. You know, by that point, it's like you just got rid of everything they ever had. What are you doing? You know?
Just freaking crazy. And but yeah, so Barnes has the dudes that are with him that are by his side, you know, out of fear and just out of, you know, like, incessant cocksucking. And of course, Elias makes his case, but the commander's just like, I don't want to hear it. We have a war to fight.
Yeah,
we'll talk about it later. And it's like,
well, I feel like he's doing that thing where it's just like, it's one incident that it's on my plate, and I have so many other things I have to look at. You know, and they're terrible, but like that, sometimes I feel like that's how those guys are looking at those things. It's just, I don't have time for that. You know, what's done is done. And Barnes he might be crazy, but he does also get certain things done too.
Yeah. Yep. Barnes' attitude is kind of hilarious to me as well. He's got the total, like, more defensive than he should be, you know, if he were not guilty. You know, like, he hadn't even been talked to yet, and the first words out of his mouth is, I got eyewitnesses that can, you know, testify to my defense, you know. And it's like, all right, man, like, we'll talk about it later, you know.
He's like, I want you to get that pig in here and that cow. You shot those two. Oh, whoops. Oh, that was my eyewitnesses.
Yeah. But yeah, so from there, it's kind of, they're gearing up for this next big part of the movie, which is next two big part of the movies. They're getting ready to go whatever on, I don't even know what to say, their next objective, I guess you could say. And they're divided up again, and Willem Dafoe tells Charlie Sheen and a couple of the other dudes, he's like, I'm gonna just go, I'm gonna go by myself. I'm gonna around the corner, I'm gonna like flank him, whatever. You guys go over here. And Charlie Sheen's like, well, can I go with you? He's like, nah, I move faster on my own.
Slow me down. Yeah.
And it kind of reminded me of Mass Effect. And in the beginning, gosh, what the hell was his name? He was one of the Turians. It don't matter. But basically, he tells Commander Shepard, like, I move faster on my own. And then Saren kills him. But but anyway, yeah, so Elias runs into Barnes, and it's kind of funny. Like, I had the idea that, like, maybe he thought for a minute that they were still buddies on the battlefield or something, because he kind of like, oh, it's just you, Barnes, and he's like smiling. Barnes is just like, and right then and there, he shoots him a few times and leaves him for dead. As Barnes is walking back towards whoever else, Elias is like,
Wait, he runs into Charlie Sheen at some point. And,
that's what I meant. Not Elias.
And Charlie Sheen, he does the thing where he's like, well, where's Elias and everything like that. He's like, oh, he's dead. He didn't make it.
Yeah, and he's like, he's 100 yards back back that way. So let's just keep moving. And he's like,
to the helicopter
away. But so they go back, get on a chopper, and they're flying away. And Charlie Sheen notices Elias running back, and but he's followed by like 20, 30 NVAs or something.
Yeah, literally.
Interestingly enough, you're seeing them all get blown away behind him when they're showing when the camera's on the front of Elias. You see all these NVAs are getting blown away. So I'm thinking, like, why wouldn't they just pick them up?
Yeah,
but still,
we get literally probably the most epic death in any war movie right here.
I think it's the cover of the movie too.
Yeah, just literally Willem Dafoe, arms up. I mean, like, it really is probably the most iconic death in a war movie. I really cannot think of anything else that stands out as much as this part.
It was a fantastic scene, and of course that only riles up the emotions in Taylor, and he sees, like, well, Barnes lied to me straight up, and he even looks at Barnes, and Barnes is just like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah,
and
apparently he could survive bullets. I didn't know that.
So yeah, so they're so they're forced to take off and just abandon him, and that's the end of Willem Dafoe. And back at the camp, in the potheads tent, Charlie Sheen, Taylor, and a few of the other guys that are left.
Yeah, they're having this like powwow.
Yeah, him, Ramucci, and King. I think one or two other guys they're talking about, like, like, what are we going to do about this? Because they're like, he was our friend. Of course, he was one of us ultimately, and in a sense,
he was their kind of personal leader, in a sense.
Yeah, exactly.
So that they don't really have anybody else for their section of the club. No. That's kind of it.
And they're just kind of talking about it, having a debate, like, what do we do? And they say, like, we got to take out Barnes. And I think it's Ramucci's like, you're nuts. Like, you try that, he's going to kill you. And Keith David's like, like, he was your buddy, dude. And, like, what the hell? He's like, he didn't ask us to die for him. Just like whatever. And then, of course, Barnes comes in there and gives this long monologue.
Well, and I like, because it's like, you don't know if he's just there all of a sudden. Like, it's almost like you don't know how long he's actually been sitting there.
I imagine he was probably listening.
Yeah, exactly, because he's just in there. He's got, like, this Jack Daniels bottle, and he's walking around. He's like, you bunch of potheads over here. He literally comes in like some kind of redneck guy coming over to, like, the hippie group, and be like, bunch of potheads over here. Think you can kill me, And he's got one of my favorite lines in this entire movie, too, where, like, it's towards the very end, but he's all, death? What do y'all know about death?
Yeah. What do you know about death? Yep. And then he says to him, like, you smoke this to escape reality? He's like, I am reality, and just pretty good monologue there. And,
no, it's a great monologue. It's really one of my favorite scenes is also when he's just talking right there.
And I don't know, it could just be me, but I almost felt like his scars got worse on his face, like more gross, like not worse per se, but it's almost like his character grows into him as the film goes on, like dirtier maybe, because I mean they're in the jungle, right?
Yeah.
And I just love how he's portrayed, or how he portrays this character, Tom Berenger. He's this guy that's a dick who just gets more and more diabolical as the film goes on, and I guess that's a great representation of the war. But yeah, so there's not much left at this point. So after his monologue, everybody in the tent's just kind of sitting there listening to him, and then Taylor he can't take it. He lunges at him, tries to go after him, and then they pull him off of him. Yeah. And then from there, yeah, they got another mission. They go out, and it's a night mission. Him and is one of the black guys. Oh, right before this is where I was saying that O'Neill, John McGinley, he's like asking Barnes to take off, and he's like, "Fuck you!" Like, no way.
Yeah, I want to just go to Hawaii for 3 days.
Yeah, I know, right? And
it's gonna take you 3 days to get to Hawaii, like.
Yeah, exactly. So Keith David's gone. King, he's gone, and it's the remainder buddies of Taylor, of Charlie Sheen, are going to be Raw. Let's see. What's his name? I think Francis. He's one of the black guys still, and can't remember if he had another buddy or if it was just the other guys. And then of course O'Neill.
Well, everybody's pretty much paired up with.
Because there was like,
gonna say everybody's just kind of paired up like in a different foxhole as they're setting up.
Yeah,
this, perimeter defense.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. It was Francis with Taylor, Raw with somebody else, but I think the guy he was with got smoked. And so basically, they're all like you said, they're all paired up in foxholes, and they know that Charlie's coming. And they got bombs set up and shit, the claymores and whatever, and they're just waiting for shit to happen. And as soon as stuff starts going off, Raw comes and tells them both, like, don't get out of your hole. They're going to be dropping bombs. And at their headquarters, that was pretty awesome. It gets overrun completely, and their commander, who's not Lieutenant Wolf, but the guy above him, he calls in an airstrike on like pretty much whatever they got to just like go all over their position. And
is this the airstrike that lands on them accidentally?
Yes, it's their last ditch effort to take out the enemy, and it's ultimately successful, but a lot of dudes die. And Charlie Sheen, Taylor, he probably finds the biggest balls that have ever been in his pants in this scene, and because he just gets, like, after him and Francis realize that they're foxhole, they're going to be coming towards him, probably blowing it up, the NVAs, I mean, they get out of that hole, and just Charlie Sheen, of course, he's like, follow me. And Francis,
and of course, they blow that foxhole up like literally like 20 seconds after they get out of it.
Yeah,
RPG comes flying at it.
Yeah. So Charlie Sheen just runs after like every Asian he sees, he just starts smoking, and total moment of bravado there. And then Francis, he's pretty hesitant, but he's like, okay, fuck, and he goes with him, and he's fighting too. And but I don't think he fought for long before he jumped in another hole and kind of hid a little bit, but not nearly as cowardly as what's his name, as O'Neill.
O'Neill,
and so O'Neill's there, and he hides, of course, like we talked about. Bunny's there in a hole. He starts, he probably kills a few, but then I think he shotgun jams or something, and then the NVA smoke him, which I was really happy to see because he was such a terrible guy. And then one of the guys that was with him, he starts trying to run away, bumps into a tree. It looks like, I couldn't tell if he like hit his head on a tree and fell, or if he got shot. I couldn't really tell. I think he gets stabbed ultimately to death like 8 times.
Yeah, he gets bayoneted. So,
and then,
by this point, what happened to Forrest Whitaker's character? I can't remember. Like, we haven't mentioned.
I forgot about that. So before this battle, I think it was in the one that preceded it. Forrest Whitaker's character, as well as Johnny Depp's character, Gator, they both died.
Okay, that's I couldn't remember if he died. Yeah, sometimes some of these characters I can't remember exactly what part they died at, but that makes sense now that you mention it.
Yeah, they both die, and let's see. Just looking to see if there was another one, but yeah, it's pretty much those two got killed before that. And I have to say, I'm not a big fan of Forrest Whitaker. I think he sucks.
I know,
that said,
you mentioned that before.
Yeah, dude. I don't know what it is. I think he's just so weird and mediocre and like overly like dramatic in his roles. Like the stupid. He was the only thing I didn't like about Rogue One. Such a stupid character. But anyway, I actually like him in this film. I thought he was a good character. Yeah. It wasn't overly. His role wasn't overly dramatic. I thought he was pretty good. So, long live that character from Forrest Whitaker, because I'll never probably like anything he's ever done ever again. But
this was the one dialed-in character for him.
That's right. But yeah, so he gets killed. Johnny Depp was killed. Poor guy. And that was that. But yeah, so that one guy, of course, he runs to the tree, gets stabbed to death. O'Neill has hidden himself from the enemy. Francis is let's see. Yes, it is Francis. So Francis survived the battle as well. I can't remember if he hit himself or if he just like fell in one of the foxholes and just like passed out or something. But anyway, the whole area gets bombarded by bombs and I think napalm too. And then basically everybody wakes up the next day. Everybody that didn't die.
Yeah, everybody who's still left.
Which is Charlie Sheen. Taylor, he gets up. Barnes is kind of crawling. So right before night turned into day, of course, right before this big bombing, Charlie Sheen comes across Barnes, and it's kind of unclear whether or not Charlie Sheen was about to kill Barnes or try to like tell him, hey, there's an air assault that's about to happen, because you don't know. All you see is Charlie reaching for Barnes and yelling Barnes, and then Barnes turning around and going to like beat him probably to death with his little shovel as an e-tool.
Yeah.
And well, because of that bombing, it doesn't happen, and knocks everybody out till morning, kills most of them, and then of course, so the next morning you see.
Well, I even like when Charlie Sheen, because he just sort of wakes up not knowing really what's happened at this point. He gets up, and it's kind of he kind of slow saunters over. He sees just bodies everywhere, left and right, both sides. There's even like one Viet Cong guy just slowly crawling away up at the top, but he doesn't make. He's like, whatever, let that guy try to do. He's not probably making it that far.
Yeah,
you know. And then he kind of stumbles across Barnes, who is crawling as well away, but just in a different direction.
Oh yeah, no, and that was perfect. That was such a perfect scene, because it's like, Barnes turns over and notices Charlie Sheen standing there. So Charlie Sheen, mind you, has picked up an enemy's AK-47, and which I find fantastic for the reason that rifle is like the cockroach of weapons, like
it survives anything.
There's stories from people that were in Vietnam that talked about like flipping over a decomposed body and there's an AK-47 and they pick it right up and they start shooting it. Like it's like this unkillable thing. And
where like the M16 had so many issues during Vietnam that like a lot of times guys would toss their M16s out and pick up an AK-47 because there was much more luck with that gun.
Yeah, and so that was kind of cool.
I'll even say this: when you get to board of the 4th of July, like Tom Cruise has an issue with the N16 that gets him kind of screwed over.
Of course,
it jams on him and everything.
That sounds about right. But yeah, so he it's such a I almost feel like the scene belonged in Apocalypse Now, because this scene, the whole setting in this last kind of bit, it's so apocalyptic, very dystopian. Like it's just everything's done. Like you're either dead or you're dying, and you're gonna die like very quickly. Things are burnt, things are gone, and it's very morbid.
Like I say, it's similar to like when Martin Sheen's coming up to come kill Marlon Brando. That's kind of how it feels, like in a sense. Not nearly like that one's a little bit more artistically done, of course, than that one, but it has the same kind of feel and vibe to it here. And
so he's. I don't even know if he was thinking he was going to come across Barnes, but he just has that AK and he walks around the corner and probably still dazed, and there's Barnes crawling. Well, he flips himself over and he sees Taylor. He's like, give me a medic. Funny enough, too, because I was surprised by those being his words. And then, of course, Charlie Sheen just kind of like stretches, taking in the moment. And I'm sure I can only imagine all the shit going through his mind and the emotions he's feeling. And but he's just like, it's just him and me and this rifle. And it's perfect, actually, that he's got an AK-47. Because if they were to examine the corpse, they're not going to find an M16 bullet.
Yep.
Interestingly enough, because Barnes wouldn't have cared. But I mean, clearly wouldn't have cared because he smoked Elias with an M16. But
yeah, it did make a difference.
Yeah, and but yeah, so like Charlie Sheen's found himself in the perfect scenario, and so he gives him a couple looks, and then Barnes just says, "Do it." And I mean, Charlie Sheen, he didn't waste the moment at all. He just immediately shoots him, like no last word.
No problem.
And that was it. That was the end of Barnes. And then you see Francis climbing out of the foxhole, but before he does, he stabs himself in the leg. I was like, oh, it's got to be for him to get out of there. Sure.
Well, I think it's that thing. Yeah, if you get wounded twice, you can go home.
Yeah. And I looked that up, and it's true. It did matter on severity, of course, but yeah, typically, if it was something like that, then yeah, you get to go home. You go stateside, or whatever. You go somewhere that is not the war. And so he lucked out there. Charlie Sheen, he was also wounded. So there's another thing that I thought was kind of crazy. So the guys that are coming through this battlefield and picking everybody up, like, this tank is rolling through the woods. They got a Nazi flag.
Yeah, that part I was like, what's going on here? It's like almost like it felt like Charlie Sheen like woke up in a different time period.
I know, right? Kind of funny shit. I mean, just like the shit that you could do back then and nobody cared. You were just like, whatever. Like, this is my ragtag bunch of co-workers.
Yeah. Well, and then it still comes down, because I still have this big theory that like why you lots of times see like in the 60s pretty much why you see like bikers with like Nazi flags and all that kind of stuff is I think it's less of a thing of like that they're really into Nazis. I think it's more of a way to piss off your parents, because that's the number one thing that's going to make your parents really angry is you carrying around that flag. Yeah. Like more than anything else. That's the most rebellious thing you could possibly do. So I always 100%. Kind of like when you see sort of like mixed match like hippies, bikers, like even soldiers and stuff like that carrying that around, I don't think it's necessarily because they're Nazis. I think it's because it's just a way to it's a very like punk rock thing to do with
rebellion
that time
and the freedom to do whatever you want.
Yeah, just saying like what are you gonna do about it? Like, huh?
It kind of makes me want to watch Easy Rider.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
I've never seen it.
You've never seen it? Oh shit, we'll gotta put that on the list then. That goes on there.
Probably after the next two. Something.
Yeah, after our Vietnam trilogy.
But yeah, so he pretty much ends that saga, and then those two guys get to go home. O'Neill finds himself still stuck in a shitter. I love that look on his face. The guys who were pieces of shit are pretty much dead. And then you still have Ramucci, He's there.
He still made it. Yeah,
and he's giving them his salute.
Yeah, he just stand out there. Charlie's getting loaded onto like the chopper and everything like that.
Yep. And
it's the perfect kind of way. It's the movie starts off, comes in with the helicopter, he lands there, and then it takes on off with him on there. Yeah. No, it was I would say pretty much the perfect ending. I mean, yeah.
Doesn't really get any better. I mean, like, I guess a perfect ending would be nobody died, but I mean,
well, yeah, but for a movie, it's
not a Vietnam movie. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
but
not realistically, not in any movie. Like, imagine any action movie if nobody died.
The Hobbit.
Is this an action movie? Well, yeah, I guess Hobbit, but a lot of other people die that are, if you're not like, orcs aren't real people.
Yeah.
There's a lot of racism in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
But no, like this, well, realistically, Platoon, like in just watching this one again too, you kind of go like, this is pretty much like a perfect movie though. It's extremely good, like, the whole way through, and for the fact that the movie's on like a low budget of like $6 million, like that's like the most ridiculous thing. It's not like a Grindhouse movie budget.
Yeah, no, it's pretty fantastic, man. I mean, the more that I watch these films too, or I guess rephrase, the more time that goes on in my life, the farther I go on in life, I'm not gonna lie, the harder it gets for me to watch some of these films. There was a point where I felt totally desensitized to everything, and I could watch this movie all day long and be like, "Yep, that's war, that's life," blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. But this is really hard hitting. It's a very hard hitting movie, especially like I said about that halfway mark in the film where everything shifts. Because if you have family, if you have loved ones, pets, spouse, kids, whatever, you're like, that shit is that's rough, And I'm not gonna say other war movies are not brutal like that, because they are, but this movie does really well. It connects. Some movies are just violent without anything to tell you why this is wrong. Like it's just like it's very black and white. This movie is very much Oliver Stone just does a really great job on
like heavy gray, because it's like one of those ones, because even all the guys that are in a sense the bad guys, you still kind of see where they're coming from. You know what I mean? They're not just doing this just out of the blue. It's been years building into them. Just push them to the point where it's like, once again, I feel like it's that mindset of like, they're at the point where they just can't trust anybody. Except for their own teammates. Like, and even their own teammates, they can't even really trust anymore. Too. They're starting to get to that point too.
But yeah, no, it's just one heck of a flick. I love Vietnam movies. I love Vietnam stories.
Vietnam's, it's literally like when it comes to war movies, it's my favorite era of like, storytelling and stuff like that. And,
it is. It's kind of a funny thing to say. Like, my favorite war is,
I feel like you always have to rephrase it like the way I say it, but like Vietnam is like, when it comes to like
it's
the
most
story,
interesting. Like,
I think it's
most profound to me. Like the way that things were done, what was hidden, what wasn't. It was a big thing. The exploitation that press, you know what I mean? Like that was huge, like, because World War II didn't have press out there.
You just had the like newsreels. Here you go. Here's your 5-minute like update on what's going on in the Western Front. Yeah.
So like, it's not Jane Fonda. Somebody was a real big press figure back then. And pretty much gave all the soldiers a bad name.
Well, that's kind of the thing, is like because like, the TV kind of ran with, like what they were getting this footage of dead bodies and, dead civilians and all this kind of stuff, which realistically, I feel like that's, if there was in World War II, if they actually had people giving that same kind of footage, I think they would have saw a very similar thing like it would have blown people's minds that like, that's what's going on over there. You know what I mean? Because that's the thing, is like, Vietnam was kind of the first time where like the average person could kind of see real live updates of what was going on, or close to live.
It was Jane Fonda, famously dubbed Hanoi Jane for her outspoken anti-war activism.
Yeah, Barbarella going over there.
Yeah. And
is she getting naked?
But yeah, it is kind of crazy, like, there was so much controversy with her and going over there and so on and so forth. And a lot of times I think, I guess I'm for transparency, but in some cases, like, sometimes all that's going to do is create even more chaos in what's going on.
Well, you know what it is? It's that thing that, like, I hate to sort of say it, but the average person sometimes can't handle certain information.
Exactly.
And there's kind of a reason why you have classifiedness, because if you just kind of throw it out there, it's like, and some people think, the people need to know everything. I'm like,
no, they don't.
Do they? No, they don't. Yeah. It's that one. It's just like the individual is intelligent, but the group, not so much,
No. But anyway, yeah. No, man, I can't think of a single bad thing to say about this film. I think it's a masterpiece.
Yeah, it really is. It's one of those ones I kind of forgot actually how good it was until we rewatched this, because it's been a moment since I probably last time I watched Platoon. Just like so many other movies, it's like next thing you know, it's been over 10 plus years since I've seen, probably maybe even 15 years. I don't know, but and then watching it again, you just think the whole way through like. It's almost like hard to turn off because it's just so good. You know, you were like other movies. You're like, I watched 40 minutes of it. I'll take a pause break here, come back to it the next day. Like this one, I watched like almost the majority of it in one sitting, and it was just like, it's like you almost don't want to turn it off because it's just that good, and it flows so well too. The pacing is great, and it's only 2 hours long, so it doesn't drag. Because that's something about the only thing. As I said, there's certain war movies out there, and they're still really good movies, but they'll just have that, half an hour to 45, maybe even an hour, where nothing's really happening. You're kind of just waiting to get there, And I remember, I think it was that Dunkirk movie that I remember I gave real good credit to, because I was like, they did that thing where they're like, you know what, just chop that beginning part off that nobody really cares about, and just get right to like the good stuff, like right where it's going, like the perfect another example was like, it's like Pearl Harbor, you know how long it takes to get to Pearl Harbor in that movie? It takes like an hour and a half. Before the Japanese finally decide to fly on over what you've been waiting for this whole time.
Yeah, there's a movie I haven't seen in forever, and
I know I kind of would like to watch it again too. I think about it every once in a while. You know what I mean?
Yeah, my wife and I were talking about it. What I really want to watch when it comes to war stuff is actually Band of Brothers in the Pacific.
I got Band of Brothers. I got the box set of that one, and then
I remember watching it when I was younger,
Pacific.
A few episodes, and I thought it was really good, but I haven't seen it forever. I know it's a limited series, like I think each of them has like 10 episodes or 13 episodes.
Yeah, they're kind of like a spin-off of like Saving Private Ryan, which was kind of neat because Steven Spielberg produces it and everything like that, and it's still got kind of like the look and vibe to it. Yeah, I've always kind of wanted to go back to those as well too. I never got to see the Pacific one. I always wanted to watch that.
But see, that's the one thing too. I was talking to a friend the other night we were talking about war movies. He's like, "What's your favorite war movie?" or "What do you think the best war movie is?" And initially, I'm like, I want to say Apocalypse Now, but I really got to think on it. And he's like, "Yeah, I think it's between that one and Saving Private Ryan." And I'm like, I like that movie a lot. I said, but the plot I think is kind of silly. I don't know how realistic that would have been for a bunch of guys to go behind enemy lines for one dude. I know
Matt Damon.
I know that there were guys that if you were like the only kin left or whatever, like sometimes they'd send you home. But I mean, like to go so deep, like they did, I'm like, I don't know about
just sacrifice Vin Diesel. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But
yeah, I mean, for me, Apocalypse Now is probably, if I had to choose one, that is probably it, because that's one of my favorite movies of all time. I just love the living daylights out of that thing.
Yeah.
I just think it's like both like just not only just a really cool story, but just like a masterfully made film. Everything about it just fires on all cylinders for a movie that almost might not have ever happened. There's so much there, but there's so many great ones out there too. It is one of those ones when you start thinking about them, like, I will say this. I want to ask you this. Have you ever watched so many Vietnam movies in a row that you start having dreams about Vietnam?
No, I don't think so, because I honestly don't think I've ever watched a bunch of Vietnam things in a row. It's something that I have to take in doses.
Dude, I kid you not. There's one time I had like probably a week where I watched like Platoon, I watched Hamburger Hill, I watched maybe Apocalypse Now again, and some other. I literally had Nam flashbacks. I had dreams about being in Vietnam.
That's something else, man.
Yeah, so if you watch enough movies, it can happen. But yeah. But other than that, though, we're going to continue our Vietnam trilogy here. We're going to go into Born on the 4th of July next, and see what it's like of the Vietnam coming back home, because that's what that story's all about there.
Heck yeah.
And then we'll finish it off with Heaven and Hell with Tommy Lee Jones over in Vietnam and what it was like for the Vietnamese themselves, So we're if you thought the drama was hard in Platoon, it gets even more in some of those other ones. Oh boy, am I going to sleep well tonight. That's okay though. Like, I will say, one of the funniest scenes I've ever seen also is in Born on the 4th of July, because you literally have Tom Cruise and Willem Dafoe having a wheelchair fight.
Oh yeah, you were telling me about that.
They fight each other. I remember the first time seeing that, I was like, oh my gosh, this should be like one of those things where, like, when they have like Academy Award movies and like they show like a clip of it. That's all you need to show is that scene right there, out of context.
All right.
But yeah, so we're gonna carry on our Vietnam trilogy of Oliver Stone. Start off with Platoon and go from there. But yeah, really, once again, I just always love Oliver Stone movies. I think one of those ones, he always just kind of knocks them out of the park. It's kind of hard to like sort of say if you see a movie and go like you really disliked it. You might not like it for maybe certain reasons, but filmmaking wise, it's like they're always so good. But beyond all that good stuff, you can always check out more Old Man Orange podcasts, Silent Evil podcasts, and even via VHS ones. Go to YouTube and Spotify for all that good stuff. Till then, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
I'm Dave Candido.
And we'll see you some other time.